Thanks very much for joining us. My name is Paul O'Shea. I work with Dell Technologies within the Client Solutions Group. So all of the latest Dell laptops, desktops, peripherals is what I generally will get to play with, and I'll engage with your account teams just to make sure that they get all the help and support that they need. And then obviously I have a lot of conversations with customers around the new devices, what we've done, why we've done it, and what the benefit is to you. One of the things that comes up quite often is around the claim that we have, which is approved by our legal team, that Dell with Intel is the most secure PC in the world. Part of that conversation is around Dell devices that we supply with vPro. So vPro is something we'd love to get into a bit more detail. So I have Jimmy from Intel on this call. Jimmy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. This is Jimmy White from Intel. I'm the technical sales specialist for the vPro platform. I'm based in the UK, but I support the whole of Europe.
Brilliant. Thank you. So Jimmy, like me, has a lot of customer engagements. Jimmy's engagements very much would revolve around things like vPro and giving us a live demo. There is nothing quite like seeing it in operation and seeing the different kind of use cases, because otherwise we look at vPro and we go, well, it's security and it does certain things. But Jimmy, it'd be great if you could show us the demonstration and we can run through it, and then I'll play devil's advocate and pretend I'm a customer. So every now and then I might prompt you for a bit more information when I expect a customer might jump in and ask a little bit more. Is that okay?
Yep, sounds good. So maybe we just talk about vPro a little bit. So there's many different features in the vPro platform. I think what we are going to focus on today is the manageability piece of it. But there are also security benefits, there are also stability benefit, and there are also performance benefit on the vPro platform. We can talk about those in a different time, but let's focus on the manageability today. In the manageability features of vPro, the focus is on Intel AMT, Intel Active Management Technology. That's the hardware-based engine that builds inside the vPro platform that allows you to manage the machine even when the OS is on the machine is not working. Because if you use a software-based management solution, Intune, Workspace ONE, or whatever, if the OS is not running or the agent on the OS is not running, you can't manage the system and you cannot support your end users. But with Intel AMT, because it sits inside the hardware, it's independent of the operating system. So even when the OS is not running, you can still manage the PC. You can still support your end users.
So you're jumping in there as a system. So when you hit that power on button, you'll see, self BIOS or safe BIOS, and so it's at that kind of point as things load up, you can jump in and interrupt it and restore or fix or do something, take an action. Whereas obviously when you boot up a corrupt system and it just blue screens on you, it's very difficult, especially if somebody's working remote, I would assume, to do anything about it. So jumping in at that earlier point gives them that ability.
Basically you can. It gives you access to the PC just like you're sitting in front of it physically, although it's remote. And it works both on the intranet and internet as well. So it works with the PC in the office, and it also works with the PC in the employee's home. As you know, a lot of people work from home these days. Yep. So it's a powerful tool to help IT support the end users. And before I jump into the demo, maybe I talk a little bit about the software side as well. So Intel AMT is on the hardware. So that's the hardware feature. Of course, if you want to reach out and use Intel AMT, you need a piece of software. So we have two solutions available for customers. One is called Intel Endpoint Management Assistant, or we call it Intel EMA. That's a piece of software you can download from Intel.com, install it on a server, and then you can use that to manage your devices. But you need to manage that. So the server sits on your cloud or sits on your data center, and then you basically access that data center and manage those PCs.
I assume that the basic rule applies if you have a device and vPro hasn't been enabled at point of sale, you can't then use any of those tools. You have to have vPro enabled day one.
Yeah, when you buy the PC, you have to have vPro enabled. If you buy a non-vPro PC, it cannot be changed to a vPro PC once it left the factory. So you have to buy a vPro PC to
and
use
obviously
these features.
At Dell we can supply devices from the factory or smart stock, which would be stock sitting in the UK with vPro enabled, ready to roll, no extra cost, and you get all this great functionality. But yeah, perfect. Thank you.
No worries. So Intel Emma is one solution. Is the customers need to install the server, they need to install Intel Emma on the server before they can use it. The other solution we just launched this year is called Intel vPro Feed Services. It's a SaaS offering. It sits on Intel's infrastructure. Customers can use it without paying for a cost, and they don't need to install anything on their environment as well. So it's Intel Emma, which customers would need to manage themselves. It sits inside the infrastructure. And then there's Intel vPro Feed Services, or we call that Intel VFS. It's a SaaS service. The customers do not need to install anything. You just need to register and start using it. We are keeping both solutions in the long run because there are customers who want to manage their own servers, and there are customers who want to go cloud only and don't want to manage anything on their infrastructure. But right now, as you can see later in the demo, we do not have the same set of features on VFS as on Intel Emma because VFS is still new. So, but if customers is happy with that, they're happy with the feature set that is available on VFS, they can go ahead and use it. If they want more features, then they may need to consider Intel Emma at this point until we have both at a similar level.
But regardless of which way they want to go, there is no additional charges or anything like that for it. So it's freely available, and you're obviously going to demonstrate it in a little while, but some really powerful tools, especially when you have, because I had a customer conversation late Friday, and they had an office in London, they had a remote user in France, they had somebody else in Italy, they had a team in the US, so they had lots of different remote people. And as they go through that kind of modern deployment and managing and having to look after all these, they were obviously looking to consolidate to a single platform, so sort of set users to reduce the amount of different devices from different vendors with different setup and different blah, blah, blah. They're trying to simplify all of that. And part of that conversation was around, remote management and being able to assist people if they run into issues. And vPro obviously came into that conversation, as well as, our own kind of command suite and things like that. And, just being able to manage, update, secure, patch, do whatever you needed to do. So, yeah, brilliant.
Yep. So you're right. So what I mentioned is just the Intel solutions. There are third-party solutions that are available as well. So just like you mentioned, the Dell Command Suite also supports Intel EMT. So if customers choose to use that, that's fine because they can use that with Intel EMT to manage their devices remotely.
Perfect. And that would be, so if you think about the overall management of the device, a lot of people now, they've moved across to Intune, and then you can sign in through Intune and step out to Dell Command Suite, and vPro is integrated within that as well. So you've got all of those tools pretty much in one pane of glass.
Exactly. Yeah, right. So we just launched the Intune integration with Intel VFS. So from the Intune console, you can go to Dell Command Suite. You can also go to Intel VFS. So it gives you a kind of a single interface to manage all the devices for different purposes.
Brilliant. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, and just could you give us a couple of examples before we get into the demo itself? Obviously, I'd love to see how things work in real time, and as Teams calls go and live demos, we'll see how that plays out. But just in terms of customer engagements, and you go, right, well, we have vPro and it's great, and it'll do this and do that, it'll help you. But just in real use cases, so for, I suppose, remote workers, because there's a lot of people still working remote. Some of us are back in the office more than others, but there's still a lot of people working remote. And when they run into an issue, obviously, through Intune and Command Suite and vPro, there's things there. So if somebody runs into an issue, there's maybe they've a corrupt OS or a drive failure, something's going on. Are they able to use the likes of the vPro tools to remedy or repair, or what kind of capabilities will be there?
Certainly, they can use that to support the end users. In fact, it's a very valuable tool if you have a serious OS issue with an end user. So, give an example: if I am using a PC at home and my network driver has just suddenly corrupted, and I cannot connect to the network. With the software management tools, IT probably cannot do anything because the OS is not on the network. The IT cannot see it. The only way that the IT can fix it is to send somebody to that PC or have the employee bring the PC into the office.
Mm-hmm.
But with those tools you mentioned, and along with Intel AMT, you can still see that machine remotely, even the network driver is not working at the OS level. So through Intel AMT, you can still connect to that machine. You can see that machine remotely, take control of it, and then you can recover the machine. You can reinstall the network driver for the end user so that they can get back to work very quickly. In the case that the OS is really corrupt and you can't fix it, you have to rebuild a PC. You can still do it with Intel AMT. So you can reboot the machine from a hidden partition on that PC and go into Windows recovery mode and then start the recovery. Or you can, with Intel Emma, you can have a bootable IOS upload to the Intel Emma server and then ask that machine to boot from that image on the Emma server, and then you can start the rebuild process. Of course, you can continue to take control with Intel AMT throughout the process from beginning to the end.
And you can do that not just one-to-one, you can do that maybe one-to-many?
Yeah, you can. So it's just a management console, right? So you can monitor the progress of different machines, and you can do it parallel at the same time. There's no limitation on how many machine can mount the single ISO image. You can have multiple machine reading and booting from the ISO image on the MS server.
Like I'm thinking along the lines of, obviously we had that example recently with CrowdStrike where whatever was called Blue Screen Friday, and it was an absolute pain for a lot of people. And I know from talking to customers that utilize vPro, their recovery window was really, really quick. But I'm pretty sure maybe it was because it's a common issue across multiple devices. They were able to manage it all as one, as opposed to having to go or get these devices in-house.
You still need to go to that one by one, because it depends on the nature of how the fix is for that particular problem. In CrowdStrike's case, you need to delete 4 files on the hard drive or the SSD. In order to do that, you need to reboot the machine into Windows Safe Mode. Your customers will probably have BitLocker, so you need to enter the BitLocker password, get into command prompt, change to that directory, and then delete the 4 files. You can't automate that because there's user interaction you need to do. Not user interaction, but that's interaction you need to do with the machine and also the OS. So it depends on the fix. So Intel Emma does offer a set of APIs to allow customers to do automations with that set of APIs. But in that particular case with CrowdStrike, it needs to be done interactively.
Okay. But it still saves massive
time because at least you can have multiple sections going on. You can do it in kind of parallel instead of you need to walk from one machine, finish that, and then walk to another machine and do that on that machine. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And another quick one for you as well, or another example, I suppose, that comes up because security is such a big thing. The people causing the threats are becoming more proficient, and they're using a lot of AI tools to maximize their kind of reach and scope. And some of the within Dell, we're sent quite regularly test emails to see are we awake. I'm
Right.
going to click on something we shouldn't, and all this kind of thing. So
Yep.
if you have especially specifically again, I suppose a remote user is an ideal scenario because they don't necessarily have local support and they'd have to travel to somewhere. This is why I'm using remote users as an example. But if you do have somebody, and say it's either quite late on a Friday or very early on a Monday, they're not quite fully awake, and something comes through and they click on it and they run into issues. Um, and that those issues potentially are stopping them having access to their system or being able to boot the system properly. Again, can you utilize vPro at the boot stage to basically rewrite or remove what may have happened, to block that access or stop whatever access that user has given from spreading further?
Yeah, absolutely. You can use repo and AMT to do that. So if you do have a suspicious activity going on in that PC, with Intel AMT, you can go into that PC, take control of it, and then disable the network access first. Because that will, although that disable the network access will keep the virus from spreading to other portions of the network, but because you still have the AMT connection at the hardware level, after you stop the network access at the OS level, you can still have control of that machine, and then you can perform your remediation. So you can see what was the problem on the PC and try to fix it. And then once you're happy with it, you can bring the PC back on the network. Or it, you it it got infected and you have to rebuild that machine from scratch. Like the example we talked about earlier, you can do that with Intel AMT.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Jimmy, unless there's anything else you want to run through, I'm dying to get my eyes on this demo
Okay.
because I've been asking for quite a while. And as I said, we'll repurpose some of this to share out to teams and to customers alike, just to, because I think it is really something we don't talk about in enough detail. And for me, being detail orientated, I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to show us.
Sounds good. Let's do it. All right. So I'm going to do both the demos for repo feed services and Intel EMA, endpoint management system. I'm going to start with repo feed services. Um, for customers who want to use this, it's very straightforward because it's SaaS. They don't need to install anything. They just need to go to this URL here, repofeed.intel.com, and then they can register and then they can start using it.
Okay.
So in my case, I've registered already, so I just need to log in my email address and then select the tenant that I'm managing. Then I'm in the repo feed services portal. So
Okay.
if you have seen Intel EMA before, this looks very familiar. So it tells you this, but you can, from this portal, you can manage your users and you can manage your endpoints, etc. You have audit logs as well. So I have a machine that is managed by this repo feed services. So I'm going to find that machine and I'm going to show you how I can manage it. So this is the Dell machine. You can see the status is off. So the machine is not on. It's actually on my home network. So I'm managing the machine from the cloud to my PC at home.
Okay.
And I have serial connection. This is the Intel AMT connection. So as long as the PC has power put into the because it's connected to power, the AMT connection is active. It's going through the Wi-Fi, my home Wi-Fi. So with this connection, there are a number of things I can do. You can see the power actions here. I can power on and power off. I can recycle the machine. I can also put into the BIOS as well. So that
Okay.
number of things I can do with it. But in order to show you that, let me just first connect to that machine. So I have a hardware remote desktop connection here. So I can Sorry, let me power it on first. Power on, so I can see, so to make sure the monitor is power on, so I can see the code. So now machine is on. I can connect. I'm seeing a 6-digit code on my machine, so I need to enter that in order to get connected. This is the user consent. This is the default behavior on vPro feed services. The user need to allow you to connect to that machine. And the machine, the code is shown by the chipset on the machine. Now it's connected. Just need to refresh my screen. So now machine boots up normally, and I can go in and log on, just like as if I'm using any remote desktop solution.
Yep.
Right. Even when the OS is not running or when the network driver is not running, I can still have control of that PC. So even if I disable the network card, see, in the use, this is the same use case I talked about earlier. If the network driver is corrupted and Windows is not on the network, you still maintain that control. And if I'm the help desk, I can reinstall the network driver for the end user, and then the user can get back to work quickly. Don't need to come into the office, and I don't need to send a technician to visit the end user. So I'll wait for the network to connect. Or maybe I don't need to. The other thing I can do here is, let's say if I want to continue that troubleshooting process, I think that's something wrong with the BIOS, I can reboot the machine and get it into BIOS as well. Just to check the settings or change the settings there to fix the PC. So I'm sending a reboot command to ask the PC to boot into BIOS. And it should come up on the screen in a few seconds.
So this kind of thing it really is ideal for, anyone who has a kind of dispersed workforce from lots of different areas without local kind of assistance available to them. Just being able to basically, as if they brought the device into you, you're able to work away on it.
That's right. Yeah.
And recover it to whatever needs to be done.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So instead of putting in the BIOS, I can put in the Windows safe mode or Windows recovery mode and recover from there. With Intel vPro feed services, I cannot boot from a remote ISO yet. So that's a feature that is coming very soon. But today, if you want, you cannot do it on vPro feed services. You can do that with Intel Emma. All right. So let me exit from here and just reboot the machine. So the other things you can do, I'm not going to show today because it takes more infrastructure than I have. So you can also reboot the PC into PXE. So if you have a PXE server on the network, you can also rebuild the PC from a PXE boot as well. But I don't have that set up on my demo environment.
Would you be able to, again, I'm just thinking of use cases. So if, for example, we have somebody who's leaving the business and they, that device is going to somebody else, that you can go in and remotely kind of reset that as if it's a brand new installation, can you basically re-provision utilizing vPro?
Yeah, you can do that. So you can, if you have a hidden partition on the PC that you can boot from, like I know in some Dell PCs you have that, so you can reboot from there. Or you can use the PXE boot, but in this case we do not support ISO boot on VFS yet, so you can't do that. But if the next demo I'm going to show you on Intel Emma, you can do that.
Okay. And I spotted one other thing, and it was I think it was reboot, secure. It was within the actions that you were showing me there. Reset to secure, erase.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's something that is on the BIOS, not BIOS, I'm sorry. That is something on the chip, inside the chipset is on the vPro platform, but unfortunately it's not available with Dell, HP, or Lenovo yet. It's basically is a feature that you can erase the entire PC, including the BIOS, data on the SSD, the TPM, etc. But it requires the UEFI BIOS to support it, but we do not have that with the major OEMs yet. So yeah, it's a feature on the platform, but it's not available yet. But hopefully we can make it available in the future soon.
If you wanted to, so if a device was stolen or lost, and you wanted to just wipe it, make sure that nothing was available to. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, but today you can still sort of doing that, right? So if you use that PC, you can. I just show you how I can put into BIOS. So if the PC is connected to the network somehow, so maybe the person trying to turn it on, or they just plug the PC onto an AC adapter, AMT will get connected automatically, and then you can put that PC into BIOS and then use the BIOS erase feature. There's a secure erase feature in the BIOS. You can use that to erase the PC. So it's not a perfect solution, but
still available.
It's still available.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's vPro Feed Services. All you need to do is just register on vPro Feed Services and then create an endpoint group. An endpoint group is basically a logical grouping of the devices. And then once you, for example, I have a Jimmy test endpoint group created here. Once you do that, you got a set of agent files you go and download to the PC. And then once you run those agent files on the PC will show up here on the console, and then you can start managing it. The agent basically is responsible for provisioning Intel AMT on the PC. So you would take the configuration from the VFS server and put those into the firmware and turn AMT on. And then once that turned on, you will see the serial connection I just showed to you. And then you can manage the endpoint from here. Just like the serial connection here. So it's very easy. You don't need to set up any server. You just go and register, create an endpoint group, download the agent files, install it onto the PC, and then that's it.
So it's very similar to the command suite from Dell. You'd have agents on the device, and that then allows those devices to be managed centrally through the administrator. And it's just that secure handshake to say yes. It gives you that access. That's perfect.
Yeah. That's right. So that's for vPro Feed Services. So let's move on to Intel Emma. So Intel Emma is a solution you need to install. So you need to have a VM setup, or you need to have a server setup. It can be on the data center, or it can be on the cloud, or it can be on the DM set. Once you get that set up, you can log into the server remotely. So this is the web console for that server. I forgot to mention when I do the vPro Feed Services. So vPro Feed Services also supports Android ID integration. So you can integrate vPro Feed Services with Android ID. And then you can use that to manage the user access with the Android ID groups or Android ID user accounts. And I think we talked about it earlier. You can also access vPro Feed Services from Intune. So we support that integration, but not with Intel Emma. Going back to Intel Emma, we support four types of login. One is native user account and password. So these are user accounts and passwords stored inside the database on the server. We support AD users and AD groups. We support Android ID users and Android ID group. We also support SAML authentication. So if you have a SAML ID provider, you can use that as well. But you have to choose when you do the installation. So in this case, in my demo, I'm just using a simple account and password on the Emma server. So I just use that to log in. So once I log in, very similar user interface to the vPro feed services. Here I can go to my endpoints and see them. So very similar. I can look at the endpoint here, and you can tell from here there are more information I can see on the Intel Emma UI compared to the vPro feed services UI. We also have an agent running on the system as well. So the difference between the Emma agent and the VFS agent is that the VFS agent is not persistent. It's only responsible for configuring Intel AMT. But the Emma agent is persistent. It is responsible for configuring Intel AMT at first launch. And it also provides some in-band function as well, meaning there are additional functions that the agent can provide when the OS is running. But since this machine is off, those functions are not available because the agent is not running. So you can see some of the tabs on the top are grayed out. So these are functions provided by the Emma agent.
Okay.
But similarly, because AMT has already provisioned, we have this zero connection, the AMT connection. So I can go to the hardware manageability tab and talk to the machine remotely. So all this information that is shown on the screen is pulled real time from that machine. So even you're managing it even before the machine is on.
Yep.
So that's a remote desktop function here. This is the hardware-based remote desktop, just like the one that we saw in VFS. So I can connect to that machine. But of course, I won't be able to see anything at this point because the machine is off. It's not on, it's off. But I can issue a command remotely to wake it up. So it'll take a few seconds, but you'll boot up.
Sure, yeah.
We offer a set of APIs with Intel Emma. So I'm doing this power on a one-to-one basis. If you want to power on a batch of machine, you can write a PowerShell script and do that automatically. So it gives you some options to automate your operations. So here you can see the machine booting up. So hardware-based KVM give you the ability to manage and see that device remotely even before the operating system is loaded. With other software management solution, you won't be able to see that, so to see the screen. Let me log in. So the use case here is very similar with this hardware KVM. So I can show you just this exact same use case we did before with feed services. If I disable the lab demo card in the operating system, I still maintains control and connection to that system. So if customers have issue in operating system, I can take control of the machine and fix it remotely. I don't know whether you notice, when I connect to this machine, I don't need to enter the user consent pin.
Yeah.
The reason is I disable that on this demo, so it makes it easier for me. The default behavior is the same as VFS. You have that user pin that you need to enter before you can connect to that machine. There are additional steps you need to do for security reason to disable that. So if customers do not want it, in some use case, for example, they manage digital signage machine, which knows there's no user sitting in front of it, they can disable it like I did here. But that's some extra steps to required for security reason.
There's probably more and more, I'm thinking now of endpoints at the edge where potentially there isn't somebody working there, but there is a device working away doing particular tasks or whatever it might be that you need to just remotely access. And so,
Yeah.
like you say, you've got an option here where you don't need to have somebody there telling you what's on the screen so that you can access. That's good to know.
Yep. And this feature is also coming for I'm sorry. This feature is also coming for vPro free services in a few weeks. So you'll see that as well on vPro free services very soon. Again, do the same thing. Maybe I'll do somewhat another different demo so I can crash the machine purposely. And I can still see that blue screen, although it's not blue anymore, but I can still see that crash screen. And then I can also, like I did earlier, reset the machine to BIOS.
I know the interface, the GUI is quite similar to the other one, but for some reason I'm liking this GUI more than the other one. Is there something different that I wasn't seeing? I don't know. There just seems to be a little bit more user interface available. Or am I mistaken?
Yeah, because there are more features available here. So, but eventually they will get very similar.
Yeah.
So now I'm in the BIOS, I can do whatever I need to do, and then I can reboot that machine. So very similar. And then I'll just let it boot. For now, I'll just disconnect here. Go back to the general tab here. I mentioned you can boot from an ISO image on the server, right? So I have an ISO image upload here, just for demo purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I can go back to that machine and ask it to boot from this image. So I can mount a level image. So the image that I just upload on the EMA server, and you can see the image is mounted. I can ask the machine to put to this image. I'm not going to do it because it takes a lot of time to put. It's a slow network, but I just want to show you that.
So would that be where somebody's run into, a critical issue, it's not repairable as such, and you need to basically re-image or a bootable image that's going to work, get them to a point where the steps potentially could be taken.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, perfect.
So let me unmount that. So let's see. So now the OS is on, the agent is connected. I got some more features here. So I have a software-based remote desktop. So this is relying on the agent. It doesn't rely on Intel AMT. But the difference is the hardware-based KVM does not use the CPU. So it is relatively slower than the software-based remote desktop. So if you have the OS running, you can choose to use the software-based remote desktop here to give you better responsiveness. So, and then again, I remove user consent so I can just connect to it. The default is you need user consent. And then I can also do a terminal in the background. I can start command prompt. I can start command PowerShell in the background. So you can use this to help troubleshoot user problems using the Intel EMA agent. I can access to the storage as well. So if, again, going back to that use case with the digital signage of point of sale system, I can access the C drive and upload or download file from there. All these features can be turned on and turned off in the endpoint group policy. So if you're managing user devices and you don't want to connect to the storage for security reason, you can disable that in the endpoint group policy.
Okay, so you can also, obviously, as you say, if you've got a point of sale system, for example, connected to multiple displays or whatever, and that's pre-configured to go run the files in this location, and it's kind of cycling through different images or videos or whatever, you'll be able to go in here in the file section and potentially replace those or add to them or take certain things away, again, completely remotely with nobody needed, and you can update it. So if somebody had, and again, I'm just thinking of examples, I worked in retail a long time ago, But if you had somebody who was managing a group of stores, and they're working with a marketing team, and the marketing team goes, here's some new collateral, we want this displayed from this date to this date. They could do this remotely without having to, traditionally they would have sent somebody out, they'd maybe load something from a USB, but they'd have to go location by location. You could do this just
Yeah, you
obviously
can do
set
it.
up so that you didn't need that user interaction. They could just access it, open up that file location, replace the content, and off you go, you're done.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's another use case for POS as well, because I do have a few large retail chain using Intel AMT.
Mm.
They can use this tools to help them save energy. So when the stores are closed, they can turn off all the POS systems remotely to save energy at night. And then the next morning, before the store opens, they can turn those machines on remotely. Um, and if they need to do maintenance job at night, they can use Intel AMT to power on the machines at night and perform those maintenance jobs as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so I have a large retail chain that told me that they save a lot of energy just by using this tool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for the same for a similar use case, that's good for security as well, because if you do have a security patch that you need to push out to all the machines urgently, you can use this tool to turn on the machines and push it out. Because if you have a very large global fleet, there are machines that will maybe turn off and not able to receive patches when you need them to be patched. So you can use this tool to wake up machines in a batch, and then you can send those patches. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
And then we also have access to the process running on Windows, so you can launch and terminate process from here. We also have a remote WMI interface. You can run WMI queries, and then you can also perform WMI actions. So just additional tools to help you troubleshoot or maintain your PC fleet when the OS is running. Um, um, yeah, I think that's it. That's all the features that we have available.
Oh, it's as I said, it's something that we in Dell touch on in customer conversations, but having that additional visibility of the possibilities and the applications and how you can do particular things through these tools, I think is something that I'm glad we got to catch up and run through it, because it's something I'm looking forward to sharing out to the teams and making it available to some extent as well to customers, because a lot of customers, they're buying Dell devices with vPro enabled, but they don't necessarily use it. But it's because they
Right, yeah.
maybe traditionally could be using some other tools, and they don't realize what's capable free of charge as standard on the box.
Yeah, it's a shame they don't use it because they pay for it already, right? So they're not maximizing their return on the investment. They
Yeah.
should be using it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think having the demonstration available just to be able to make them aware, because awareness is the thing. If they don't know, they won't use. Once they do know, they go, oh, okay, I can actually do X, Y, and Z. And that actually answers a lot of issues that I've been having or challenges that I'm having. I've already got a tool that I can use. Brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah, I got a lot of customers interested in this after the Blue Friday with CrowdStrike.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. And
Yeah.
just that there's such a transformation going on, since COVID, and everything shifted, and we all had to work in a different way, and administrators had to support people in different ways, and people had to work different ways with their devices. And I rejoined Dell completely remote, so everything had been locked down at that point, so I literally had a laptop delivered and displays and bits and pieces and whatever else that I had as part of my setup, but everything was done remote. And any support that I required, there was obviously Command Suite in use, there was vPro in use, there was multiple different things being used to make sure that as a remote worker who didn't have access to in-house support, we could keep things running as we needed to have them running. So I think there has been a lot of quite a transformation in the way that people work and what's important to them when they're looking at a device. It's not just about the tin. It's about the manageability. How do I support it, deploy it, update it, patch it, secure it? It's all these kind of things. And also factoring that in very much with remote in mind, because not everybody is back in the office. So no, I think that's been really useful, and I really do appreciate your time. And I'm looking forward to sharing it out with the guys. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention in relation to that kind of Intel and Dell relationship that we have, and obviously vPro being the main focus of this conversation? Anything else you'd like to share before we close up?
I think it's the awareness of also that the Dell Command Suite is a tool that is available for customers to integrate with Intel AMT. I don't think a lot of customers are aware of that. So instead of the Intel tools, there's a Dell tools that is also available. A lot of customers also ask, as I perform this demo, can I manage the BIOS settings with this tool? With Intel ML or vPro services. Unfortunately, we can't because we're just focusing on the Intel platform. But the Dell Command Suite is a tool that the customers can use to manage their BIOS. So that's usually what I tell customers, go and talk to Dell, and that's a great tool that you can use to do that.
Yeah. And then obviously vPro and Command Suite, we've got that integration. Both Intel and Dell work very closely with Microsoft with the likes of Intune to make sure that there's that integration.
Yeah, exactly.
That, single sign-on, and you've got all of these additional tools as a side step as opposed to jumping out to a completely different application. So everything is becoming more and more joined up. And that's why it's really important, obviously, for Dell, Intel, Microsoft, for us to have that kind of joint approach. And I know there's a lot of conversation goes on way above my pay grade, at Dell and Intel when there's talk about development and what should come next and how do we do X, Y, and Z, and how do we make it as a joint up an approach as possible so everything works as we want it to work. But no, that's brilliant. I really, really appreciate your time, Jimmy.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, and I'll admit now, I'm probably going to reach out to you in the future for some customer engagements, see if you're able to jump on and give me a hand. But yeah,
happy to.
Really, really appreciate it. And hopefully, when we share this out over the next week or so, if anyone has queries and if they'd like to, dig into it a little bit deeper, what I would suggest is, as a first port of call, so if it's a Dell customer, reach out to your account team. Your account team have access to the likes of myself and the likes of Jimmy. There's a big, wide group of supporting people who aren't necessarily directly part of the account team, but we're account team adjacent. So we're sitting here ready to help and support and jump on calls and have conversations. And the conversations, in my opinion, are so varied. It's what keeps me interested in my day-to-day, because I can have completely different conversations from one part of the day to the other, and we really enjoy having them. We have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of customer experience that we can share. We have partners, like Intel, that we can pull people in and support you guys to make sure that, when you're looking at transforming something or changing something or working in a slightly different way, or you have issues or challenges, reach out to us. We're here to support. It's not always just about what we can sell you. We want to engage.
Yeah.
We want to be your kind of trusted advisor, partner, and we've got all of this available. So reach out to your account team. We'll happily jump on a call, have a nice open conversation, and see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm happy to join any customer call to help as well.
Brilliant. Jimmy, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I look forward to maybe when future developments come along, maybe we can have another little chat and update people on what the updates are. Let them know what's coming up.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.